When do you scale up? When do you chill out? When do you kill your campaigns? Well, that has everything to do with NCAC zones, which we're going to be talking about here in today's video. So in order to know whether or not you should scale up a campaign, whether you should chill and figure out other things to do because you're probably a busy marketing professional, or whether you should actually kill a campaign, has everything to do with your NCAC number. And NCAC is the cost you are willing and able to pay to acquire a customer. So just for a review, that is determined by a number of different factors. A 5-step formula that we've talked about here in our previous videos. So what are NCAC zones? As you can see here on the chalkboard, I put up a couple of numbers. This is our range, all right? So this is our number that is cost of goods sold, net profit margin, desired net profitability, as well as returns or chargebacks. And then we determined at the end of that, there are other expenses that any business incurs. It's not just cost of goods sold, it's also operating expenses. So as a result of that, we have ranges. We typically look for ranges in which to determine, can this business add more marketing dollars, maybe more Google ad spend, more Meta ad spend, or invest in content marketing, or maybe invest in another channel like TikTok or LinkedIn or whatever it happens to be. If you're in a very favorable range, you can expand. You can start thinking about how I can scale. So in our fictitious company that we've used here, which is a $10 million beauty and wellness, health and wellness, very similar to a number of different customers that we have here at Tier 11. It's a $10 million business, wants to scale, wants to get to $20 million and maintain all their profitability. So on that range, where should they invest more? When should they invest more? Depending on what the data tells them. Well, in this case, there's 3 different zones that we look at: scale, chill, and kill. So what ranges do we usually say, okay, client, let's pour it on the gas. Let's start scaling up because we're really seeing really good NCAC numbers. We're resonating with the audience. We've got great creative. We've got ideal optimization in the paid ad campaigns. Let's start thinking about maybe other channels, or let's start creating more creative top of funnel in order to attract different types of customer avatars into their sales funnel, their customer acquisition path. And usually that is very aggressive when we are at the very low end of the range. If we're at $150 NCAC in our particular example here, or we are less than that, okay, that's a really good position to be in. Okay, we're adding 10, 20% ad spend every single week, maybe upwards of 50%, depending on where we're at. We're starting to think about different ways in which to maybe address or pull in top of funnel using the feeder strategy, using some awareness ads that then we retarget to get the conversion. There's lots of different ways in which you can start scaling here. So usually in this range, we will then say, okay, if we're below $150 NCAC, but maybe to about 200 or so, okay, maybe about 20, 30% higher than that, that is a very good scale range. That means right there, you wanna obviously really pedal to the metal if it's $150 or less, but even if it's in that $150, $200 range, we know we're making money because we've already factored in cost of goods sold, we've already factored in a level of operating expenses, we've also factored in a profit margin. So that is when we will typically make recommendations to really step on it, really start to invest more in top-end marketing. Now, if we're anywhere between that area is where we want to start looking at, okay, let's maybe reconfigure some of our strategies here. And we're maybe not crushing it right now, but let's look at different ways in which to approach the same audience. Maybe in the chill range is anywhere between 200 NCAC and let's say about 250, maybe 225. This is an area where, okay, we should look at our campaigns, make sure everything is in order. Let's do some optimizations, but also let's start planning for the future. Seems like, when the NCAC is creeping past that green zone, that's where we want to start rethinking some of our campaigns and some of our front-end creatives, especially in order to attract a different type of audience. So that was what we refer to as the chill zone. Okay, you've got a lot of things that are going on. Maybe you're not really focused. Let's just sort of maintain the status quo. Let's sort of reassess. Let's make sure that we have enough inventory. Let's look at all of our books. Let's make sure that all our software, all of our operating expenses are things that we actually really need, or you just devote other tasks within the business. The lower end of the range is where things get a little bit more dicey. And this is in the $250 to $275 range or greater. This is where we want to consider killing campaigns or maybe killing some of our ad spend because things are obviously not working the way that they should be. Anything above 275, we know that 275 NCAC, that does not leave us a whole lot of margin for error. Now, a lot of companies, however, will look at that, which is basically their gross profitability minus desired profit margin. Remember, we're not factoring in operating expenses into this number here. And if you're not sure exactly what I'm talking about here, go back to previous videos here in this series where we explain actually the difference between this number and that number there. So the kill zone is when you're starting to really push the envelope. Maybe you're not accumulating as much cash as you were when you were in these upper zones up here. This is a time when you have to reassess your business. This is when you should be talking to your agency or your internal team, considering making some big changes and maybe even scaling back ad spend if it starts to creep above that $275 NCAC range. So another part to this is that if you are in this range here, you might want to start considering what are other ways for me to increase my lifetime value, okay? Are there upsells? Are there cross-sells? Should I devote maybe a little bit more of my time to cross-channel retargeting? Am I spending too much money on my Amazon campaigns when I can maybe cut back my spend and get the same amount of volume from that same channel? Many cases we see ad accounts that are overspending on Amazon for Amazon brand or they're overspending on Google brand name search when they really don't have to, when they have excellent SEO and they don't really have to pay for ads. So a lot of this hard work here is done when you start to see your NCAC creeping up into that zone, which is right around in the kill zone. However, if you're in the chill zone or you're in the scale zone, you're really doing pretty well, and you should actually look for ways in which to expand to ultimately scale and grow and achieve your vision as an organization. So these NCAC zones are not hard and fast by any stretch. It's going to depend on your comfort level, your personal preference, your tolerance for risk as a business owner or a marketing professional. But these zones are really important to keep in mind because it really does change your mindset when it comes to how to scale and how to grow your business. So if you want more videos like this, make sure that you do subscribe to the channel here. Make sure that you do comment, like, and share. And if you're not familiar with our marketing performance indicators, NCAC, or cost to acquire a new customer, is the most important one. Make sure you download our guide over at tier11.com/MPI. Till the next video, we'll talk to you soon.